Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Raw is Jericho! Hell yeah! Get some
You will rest in peace.
The whole world will acknowledge me.
The world watching.
Oh, what is up? Welcome to the newest edition of the Rasslin Addicts. I'm Matt. This is Nick. Are you ready? Love the jersey.
Are you ready?
Boom, boom.
Special.
What were you saying?
I said special edition, the SummerSlam edition.
Yes. Yes, we are running our SummerSlam recap. And you think you just caught up a little bit on it? You hit, I think you just said you hit the highlights on
For the first two. Yeah. I caught SummerSlam at the Battle Royal. I had to catch the highlights on the Ricochet Paul and Brock and Cody matches.
Okay. So right off the bat, SummerSlam on a Saturday night. I love the Saturday night shows.
I don't.
So
I hate
you don't
it.
like it?
I hate it. There's no sports going on Saturday nights.
Yeah, but then that gives you the option to watch it Sunday afternoon while you're
Oh, I
recovering.
want to watch it live. I don't want to watch it Sunday afternoon. I want to watch it live. By Sunday afternoon, I've already seen Twitter, and I know what happened. So why am I even watching now?
You're right.
The story's ruined. It's like watching. It's like sitting there. It's like that episode of How I Met Your Mother when they didn't watch the Super Bowl and they're like, "Oh, we'll just watch it the next day," and they had to avoid everybody in their fucking life to try to like not find out the score because if they find out the score, there's no point in watching the game. 100%, it's the same deal.
I agree.
Especially for a pay-per-view. Because there's no story in the pay-per-view. It's just a result.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still like for me, the Saturday nights is so much better for how long these things are. If you would have watched it live on Saturday, 12:05 it ended.
I did.
Oh, 12. Yeah, but if you're sitting there from like start to finish, that's a lot. That is a long show, whether you're a fan or not. That is way too long.
I don't disagree with you. If they do it on Sunday, maybe they don't have an hour-long Samoan Pokemon match at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, because they only know 4 moves.
I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant with that. I know it's you don't like it, and I have some issues on the main event too. But let's start with the opener. And I think it was a great opener. The opening match, you're supposed to get the crowd riled up, hot, ready to go. And that's what Ricochet and Logan Paul did. It's you're not gonna get a 5-star match out of these two, but for what it was.
Here's my problem with that match.
Yeah.
A lot of 5-star moves. A lot of oohs, a lot of ahs. And you know what? Both of them outstanding athletes. One thing I did not like is, there's 2 things to take note, or 3 things to take note of from my firing point. All right. The first one is, there were so the thing for me about wrestling is I'm like Kevin Nash. It has to be somewhat believable.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see Ricochet and Logan Paul going up to the top turnbuckle together, that's unbelievable. When Logan Paul's getting his ass beat and Ricochet is grabbing him by his arm and trying to lift him up turnbuckle so that they can do like a cool aerial stunt together. Yes, it looks really cool. But I learned one thing as a child: when you don't want to move, there's a thing called dead weight, and you don't move. So why would you assist the person that you're fighting with getting you into a more vulnerable position so he can do some weird Jimmy Jack fucking stunner neck breaker bullshit off the top rope? That doesn't even make sense. Like, that would be like if somebody wanted to throw you off the Hell in a Cell and you were unconscious and you were like, hold on, I'm not really unconscious. I can help you carry me up the Hell in a Cell. That's just stupid. That's just stupid. So to me, that part, I was like, wow, the move was really good, but how they got there was really dumb. They could have gotten up there in a different way, where maybe Logan Paul goes to go do a move off the top turnbuckle. Ricochet hits the ropes. He falls down. Now Ricochet's on top of the ropes. Now they're both jockeying for who's going to throw the other off the top, as opposed to Ricochet, who's smaller than Logan Paul, somehow, by the grace of God, lifting Logan Paul up by his neck or shoulder and picking him up with one arm onto the top turnbuckle with him. Thought that was just inconceivably stupid. The other problem I had was this match, right? You're right. It's supposed to get the crowd warmed up, but there were so many impossible things that happened that every single match that happened after it, I was like, la-di-da. Nobody fucking did triple backflips off the top turnbuckle. Nobody did a 450 splash into a clothesline out of the, like, lariat out of the ring and onto the floor. Like, you watch that match and then you watch the next match and you're just like, okay, so these guys just aren't going to do anything, clearly.
Well, I mean, Cody and Brock, you're not going to see a shooting star press at a Brock anymore.
That, but that's why you do shooting star presses in your last match, not your first. It's only downhill from there.
I think it was a spot fest for sure. You know, that's why they have Ricochet in the ladder matches. It's like
watch the highlights of that match and then watch the Cody and Brock highlights like I just did, and you're just gonna be like, okay, so clearly one of those matches was good, and the other one was Brock versus Cody.
Brock versus Cody, I enjoyed.
Oh,
I enjoyed Brock and Cody. It was a nice slow paced compared to the first match.
My third point about the Logan Paul versus Ricochet match was that Logan Paul he's got heat, and he's got good heat right now.
Yeah,
he's very. I don't like him as a person. I think he's a douche as a human being. Him and his brother are both douches. Neither one of them deserve to be any type of celebrity, and he definitely didn't deserve this job because he just got it because he was already famous. He's like the David Arquette, but like if David Arquette could actually wrestle, that's Logan Paul. But he's got good heat right now. When you have somebody who's got heat naturally because people just don't like him, and you have them cheating to win, you create X-Pac heat, and that's not good. He doesn't need the extra heat. If he would have won that match clean, everybody still would have hated him. Like, they don't dislike him because he cheats. They don't dislike him because of his character. They don't like him because he's Logan Paul.
Well, look at his matches. The first one was.
I just meant last night. Not 2 nights ago.
No. I know that, but what I'm saying is, though, like, for a guy like Ricochet, he's a face. You can't have him lose clean, and then Logan Paul leaves, and Ricochet's still there with his hot ring announcer fiance. So, like, you kind of need a little. I get why they had him cheat. This way, it doesn't make Ricochet look like a pansy that he, with everything he could do in the ring, lost to a guy who's not even a wrestler. You know what, though? But you could have him lose on a technicality. Well, I guess the technicality would be the brass knuckles. It didn't have to be brass knuckles. They could have went one better. They could have made this. If you really want to talk about storyline, they could have had his girlfriend get involved in how he lost. She was trying to distract the referee because of whatever to try to help Ricochet, and then like, I don't know, Logan Paul kisses her on the mouth, and then Ricochet goes to swing at Paul, hits his girlfriend, and then he's so concerned about the girlfriend that Paul gets the roll up. That's a heel finish. You don't right cheat. No female in that company is taking a hit or a bump or anything from a dude. The only one that could possibly have that happen to would be Rhea. And that's because she's bigger than half the guys. I'm just saying, not a big hit. It could just have been an incidental push. Or he pushes Logan Paul and then his girlfriend falls off the fucking apron. Something. It doesn't have to be brass knuckles, is my point. Yeah, you know what? I didn't mind the brass knuckles because it goes in with his like titanium that's in his fist. So not only is the titanium there, it's the brass knucks.
Doesn't, because brass knuckles don't work that way.
Yeah, but in
Like I could have
kayfabe.
adamantium in my fist. Putting brass knuckles over a titanium hand negates the titanium. Titanium is stronger than brass.
I'm just going with the kayfabe, and
Stupid. The kayfabe has to make sense. It has to make sense.
It's wrestling. It's not always going to make sense, bro. Look at the Undertaker. Everything the Undertaker did as a dead man, all that paranormal shit, that didn't make sense, but we fucking loved it.
That shit's made all the sense in the world. All right, every single day. Every time he turned the lights out, I was like, he did that. You all saw it.
The lightning strike hitting the ramp and the entranceway.
Every time that happened, I was like, how did he do that? To this day, I can't figure it out. Special guy. And to think he surrendered all that power just to marry Michelle McCool.
I mean, it is Michelle McCool.
I might have been impressed 17 years ago, not anymore.
Well, I mean, that's when it probably happened not long ago. I mean, they don't look like the average wrestling couple, you know. They don't look like a Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. So it's like a completely like age gap is huge. And just like the look too, where like on everyone on the roster, you wouldn't think Michelle McCool and The Undertaker. It's like, how did that happen?
Because he's the dead man and he can't be stopped. But back to SummerSlam. So I did like the acrobatics. I thought it was a very well put together match. The finish I thought was weak. Again, I don't think Logan Paul. Again, you're saying he has titanium in his hand. Why does he need brass knuckles? Ridiculous. Titanium is stronger than brass. That'd be like hitting somebody with a pillow and instead of a steel chair and then being like the pillow did him in. Like, what?
Well, listen. Back in 2005, me and Mikey, I went in. I was like, we were doing a little wrestling. And at the time, he hid his Game Boy Advance, or what's the one that flipped? The Game Boy that flipped open?
DS?
He had that hidden in his pillowcase. So when I went in, I was like hitting him. I was like, Stone Cold, Stone Cold. He took his pillow and hit me with it. But because he hid his DS in there, the whiplash of the pillow cracked my head open, blood everywhere.
Hold on. To be fair, all right, two things I want to point out. One, that would make sense because then he pulls out the DS and he's like, looks at the camera and he's like, ha ha. So I don't think that was an accident. That's the first thing. The second thing I just want to point out is back in 2005, you were like 19. Why are you wrestling?
Well, I was horse playing with little bro. I had to teach him a lesson. He was getting out of line. So
I just want to point out when we were 23, you were still RKOing your little brother through chairs and whatnot.
Yeah, but how cool was that though? He comes in out of nowhere. I'm hiding. Pow! RKO.
But what are your thoughts on that match?
On Ricochet and like I said earlier, I liked it for what it was. It was a great opening match. It wasn't your typical battle royal that started the show. You had that as an opener, and I felt like it delivered for an opening match. It all really depends because Logan Paul is going to be fine when he comes back. He'll probably come back around Survivor Series for one of the bigger events, and he'll be involved in some big type of match there. I really want to see what happens with Ricochet. I want to see where he goes from here.
I just kind of feel like it was just all downhill from there. I mean, like as far as performances in the ring, it to me, and again, the storyline is not there. There's better stories along the way, but for me, it was like watching Mankind get thrown off the Hell in a Cell first match of the night, and you're just like, okay,
yeah,
nothing else is gonna happen tonight. When I saw them do that double backflip off the freaking, it looked like they were doing like the Canadian pile driver or the Canadian destroyer off the freaking apron.
Yeah,
like when I saw that, I was like, that was pretty freaking cool. Not gonna lie. And I was like, nobody else in this card is doing anything close to that.
Yeah, it was not my favorite SummerSlam.
I honestly, I think AEW might have messed everything up because why were these all these matches were like an hour long? Why? Unnecessary.
Like, and they had the cut matches. They had to cut Trish and Becky Lynch from the card, which
the thing for me is twofold. One, the first one being that whole they have to cut matches thing, that's bullshit because they're not on pay-per-view anymore. They don't have to cut shit. They're on their own streaming service. They're on their own streaming service, and that streaming service only still exists because of WWE. Peacock would be out of business if not for WWE.
Yeah, but look at how long the show was to begin with. If
I got
had another match, you're 12:30.
That match was up front. That match was too long. But let's go on to the next match. Let's get into Brock and Cody.
Brock and Cody. I enjoyed that match. I was honestly surprised it was on so early in the show because they billed it as but it makes sense because
30 belts they have to.
But with Logan Paul, he had to fly out for his brother's fight. So that's probably the only reason why that match was on first. I felt I probably would have thought Cody and Brock would have started it.
Okay.
Because they build SummerSlam as 4 main events, and it's one of 4 main events, and it's the second match on the show.
I got news.
Not last, you're first.
There's no such thing as 4 main events. Whatever the last match is, that's the main event. Unless you're gonna have 2 matches going on in 2 rings at the same time, that's the main event. There is no such thing as 4 main events. That's ridiculous. That's just so everybody doesn't feel bad about not being the main event. The main event was Jay versus freaking Roman. That was the main event. Everything else was an undercard. I don't give a shit what anybody says. They can sit there and tell all the stories that they want about how it's 4 main. No, it wasn't. I don't give a shit. It really wasn't. They literally gave those guys an hour-long match where about 15 minutes of it was them just staring at each other and maybe throwing a punch or a hip toss and then staring at each other for another hour. But I digress. Back to Cody versus Brock.
I enjoyed it. It was they're done. It was the last of the 3. Cody held his own, and Brock losing doesn't hurt him. Cody losing this would have hurt, and you knew he was winning because it's his story is going to finish with Roman at WrestleMania 40, where he loses again. But the match was great. A lot of back and forth action. You had Cody, doing Brock's Kimura. Brock just F5 and beating the shit out of Cody to start. And, Cody won with the 3 crossroads. I like that it was like a definitive pin. It wasn't like the first match to where, Brock had him in the Kimura and then he hopped over him for a quick pin. It wasn't where Cody, he didn't tap out, but he passed out. Cody ended this feud strong with a nice pinfall victory over Brock Lesnar, which a lot of people don't get. A lot of people don't beat Brock. So,
I don't like the usage of actual MMA moves in wrestling. Just because you actually throw somebody in a move for that long, you're going to break their friggin' arm. It just
he easily could do it. He easily could do it.
And when he did that Kimura, when Brock picks him up and drops him, if he actually has the Kimura in, he doesn't let go when Brock drops him. He just moves his arm a little bit and he snaps Brock's arm in half. Like anybody that's been in a Kimura knows that an inch difference is the difference between your arm dangling by threads and your arm being in one piece. And when Brock picks him up and slams him down, he very easily can just, as he's going down, break Brock's arm right off. So, I don't like the use of that because, again, it has to be believable. If you put a move on somebody like that for that long, you're going to break their arm. If you're not breaking their arm, it's because you choose not to, not because you can't.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way. That's why, back in the day, you put somebody in the ankle lock. The ankle lock's not really a real move that you would see in UFC. Nobody's doing that. That way. You might see an ankle lock with legs wrapped around the leg, and you're going to do a knee lock or an ankle lock like that. You're not doing an ankle lock like Ken Shamrock or Kurt Angle. That's just not going to happen. You're not seeing people do Kimuras back in the day. Now they're doing Kimuras and they're doing triangle chokes and shit like that. And it's stop, dude. If somebody actually did that to you, you wouldn't get up. That would be it for that long because you're sitting in the move for an hour.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I agree.
it feels like it at least, and it's not even like in actual UFC, like the attempt is a long time moving, right? Like they're trying to put you in the move for a second or two. You getting in that move, once you get in that move, you're screwed. You ain't getting out. Like that's it. They grab their wrist and they have your arm in a Kimura, you're fucked. You're not getting out. Like there is no like, oh, we're gonna wait for him to tap. Oh no, the ref's probably gonna make you tap immediately. He'll be like, yeah, you were done, dude.
Yeah, ring the bell. Huh.
Yeah, he almost broke your arm. I just saved your life.
I thought it was a good match. What about aside from the MMA moves? What I know you're not a Brock fan, so like, what did you think of it?
It was a good match. The only thing I didn't like was there's like a kind of a small rule with wrestling where if you have a finisher, you have to be able to put that finisher on everyone. That's why Jericho stopped doing the Lion Tamer, and the Walls of Jericho just became a Boston Crab, whereas it used to be like a high angle Boston Crab or the Walls of Jericho, or the Lion Tamer was not the Boston Crab. But when he became a main event kind of guy and he had to put somebody like the Big Show in the Walls of Jericho and he couldn't, and then he came out with the code breaker and whatnot. Cody looked like he was struggling doing those crossroads. His execution of those moves, and it might have just been exhaustion. He couldn't execute that rolling crossroads appropriately. And in my head for a split second, I was like, Brock might be too big for that move. He needs a secondary move. But other than that, I thought it was a good match for what it was. I thought the storyline was stupid in the first place because we still can't figure out why they started feuding in the first place. But
they still never said it. There is nothing.
It was just kind of, it was dumb. It was stupid, but whatever. It was well executed. The match was, as far as story goes, the story was unnecessary. The story was just created because they needed something for Brock to do before he takes another break, and they wanted to keep this bullshit bloodline story going.
I think it was more for Cody. I feel like what they're doing is they're mimicking when Cena lost to The Rock at WrestleMania 28. Cena lost to The Rock. It was almost like the same type of reaction, sitting in the ring, dazed and confused, like what happened? How did I blow this? And then Cena went on to face Brock at Extreme Rules. I'm pretty sure it was only one match, but I feel like they're building Cody to eventually be, I don't want to say like a formidable challenge for Roman, but I don't see Cody winning any other belt other than the undisputed WWE Universal Championship.
I mean, the only other belt he could possibly take would be the heavyweight belt, because he ain't taking the Intercontinental, because apparently those two guys just don't lose anymore.
Yeah,
him and the Nazi and Roman don't lose, so it's like
Nazi and Roman. Oh my God, we'll get to that. But I'm interested to see. I know this is going to air on Wednesday, but with Raw being tonight, Monday, I am interested to see where they go next with Cody, because he can't go from Roman to Brock to what I'm hearing is like
AJ Styles.
McIntyre. AJ Styles wouldn't even be bad because they would put on good matches.
What's AJ Styles been doing lately to warrant any type of? He was in the battle.
AJ's on SmackDown. It's so easy with AJ because at least with Gallows and Anderson, it could be like a Bullet Club type of thing, But being that they're on different shows, I don't see it being AJ.
They're gonna have the Nightmare versus the Nigerian Nightmare.
Oh, it's gonna be. I have a feeling it's gonna be Drew. It's gonna be Drew McIntyre or a returning Bray Wyatt if he ever comes back.
Okay. We'll see what happens with. By the way, I just want to point out that Cody has wrestled Brock more times since WrestleMania than Roman's defended his belt. Just throwing that out there.
Yes. But now we have to move on to the next match.
Yep.
Where everybody's talking about LA Knight. Yeah. Love it. Absolutely love it.
I haven't seen this guy cut a promo. I haven't. I don't watch week to week. There's like 45 hours of Rasslin going on.
It's too much.
Week to week. I try to catch when I can while I can. I caught SummerSlam. But from what I heard, this guy's just knocking other people's gimmicks. And that was okay like 40 years ago when like everybody was territorial. So you really didn't see people from outside your territory. So Ric Flair totally stole Buddy Rogers' gimmick. But nobody really noticed because if you weren't from Buddy Rogers' territory, you didn't know about Buddy Rogers. And the same thing goes for Hogan stealing Superstar Billy Graham's gimmick. If you never saw Superstar Billy Graham because you weren't in that territory, then you didn't know that Hogan stole the gimmick. But I think
he's not stealing anyone's gimmick, though. He's not. He's taking.
I don't know. Kevin Nash says otherwise.
Kevin Nash, I want to say, Kevin Nash, you and Kevin Nash have a lot in common to where you're stuck back in that old, good era.
And when
no,
I say
listen,
days, I mean the actual good days.
No, listen, you're not wrong. But the thing I don't understand is that everyone is like, oh, it hasn't been good since the old days. It hasn't been good since The Rock. It hasn't been good since Stone Cold.
Sure.
Now you have a guy who he's not saying if you smell what the night is cooking. He's not saying, and that's the bottom line because LA Knight said so.
He's on his way.
There's mannerisms there of it to where he takes like maybe like 5% of what they did and he makes it his own. He's not like Dolph Ziggler, who's actually in the fucking corner, banging, tuning up the band, and doing a super kick. How is that cool? But then LA Knight is just cutting a good promo.
To be fair, tuning up the band, right? Doing it like the kick or whatever it is. To me, everybody in the whole place does a super kick now. Do they actually stay down when Dolph Ziggler does it?
No, which makes it worse. Because he's doing the exact same thing Sean did. He's literally tuning up the band.
To be fair, Jeff Jarrett used to do the whole strut like Ric Flair too. I mean, except that they wrestled at the exact same time.
And Jeff Jarrett just went like this.
That was the only difference. He put two fingers up and he did a little peace sign at the end. But they both used to do that stupid ass strut. I just want everybody to know nobody ever walked like that.
LA Knight is a stud, and I hope he gets the push that he deserves because
he won't, man.
The crowd loves him.
The Nazi and Roman are too busy setting records. He's gonna get buried by somebody. The only way he gets a push is if he doesn't go for a belt. The only belt he could possibly have right now is Seth's. And I don't even know if they're on the same show.
They're not. So he go for the U.S. title. He doesn't need a main title.
We'll see if he loses if the U.S. title changes hands in the upcoming future. Right? Isn't it being defended this week?
I think 2 weeks
against the dude from the LWO.
Yeah,
and that dude's probably gonna win, and he's gonna take a freaking M and write Mexico on the U.S. title. I think that's a great heel move.
I love it. I do. That's like Lance Storm in WCW. He held like 4 different titles, and they were all Canadian. It was like the Canadian Hardcore Championship,
Canadian Television Championship.
I love it. But that Battle Royal was only on the card solely to have LA Knight there and win. That was it.
I wasn't impressed by it, although I did enjoy watching Omos, but just to see him as big as he is. Other than that, I expect better. Like it was, you know what the problem I had with most of SummerSlam was? It was a foregone conclusion about who was going to win, except for the Rollins and Balor match. Yes, I almost said Baylor.
Bueller.
Other than that, everything else was a foregone conclusion about who was going to win. I knew Bianca Belair was going to win as soon as she hurt her leg. As soon as she hurt, I'm like,
yeah. Wait, before we get there, let me run a promo. Oh,
Please.
Real quick, just so we don't lose anybody after they come back from the promo. The next match after the Battle Royal was Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler in an MMA match. I didn't really watch it. Shayna tapped out Ronda. That was it. Hopefully Ronda's on her way out soon because that's been a failed experiment, which hasn't been the same since WrestleMania 34 when Ronda was at her highest.
I have never seen Beast versus Beast in female wrestling before. I've seen Beauty versus Beast. I've never seen Beast versus Beast. That was a tough match to watch. You know, honestly, the fact that UFC owns WWE now, why wouldn't they have put that in an octagon?
The sale didn't go through yet.
I mean, it's still fucking stupid. Remember when Shamrock fought somebody in that Lion's Den thing?
It was probably either he fought Dan the Beast Savern in there.
I think it was
Jeff Jarrett, Blackman. Yeah.
So they should have done that. It being in a wrestling ring and them doing an MMA match in the wrestling ring, that was as bad as watching the Brawl for All.
They have a fight pit match that they've used in NXT. That would have been perfect for this.
It was awful. It was absolutely awful. Like, I fell asleep at least twice during that match. It was like, you that set women's wrestling back. If you never watched female wrestling because you were from the 90s and you watched good wrestling, if you were like, all right, I'm going to throw it on today, and that was the female wrestling match you turned on, that triple threat match, you were like, I'm not watching this shit. I'm going to go take a piss real quick. I'll be back.
The triple threat was good.
Ronda versus Shayna match was trash. Absolutely trash.
Did not belong on the card.
To begin with, but that match was like, if that was two men wrestling, that'd have been bad. Again, it was like the Brawl for All, but with MMA.
Yeah.
And not real.
Right. Hold on, guys. I'm going to run a quick promo for Underdog. Make sure you check out that promo code Addicts and make yourself some money. Be right back.
Fantasy Sports Corp and Underdog Fantasy have teamed up to start your fantasy season off in the win column with Best Ball. What is Best Ball? It's quite simply the easiest way to win. No team management, no trades, no waivers. It's their biggest contest ever and it has only gotten bigger. You simply have to sit and win. You don't even have to set your lineup. Always get your best score every week. Just enter a contest, draft your team, and Underdog will do the rest. What could make this even better? How about free money, up to $100 using our exclusive promo code? Go online now and use the promo code ADDICTS to double your deposit up to $100. You tell them Gingerbread sent you. Good girl.
Goddamn gingerbread. Before we move on to probably what people are calling the match of the night, a cool note I want to talk about from the Brock Cody match. That interaction after the match where Brock shook Cody's hand, hugged him, raised the arm, completely unscripted. And I like stuff like that when it comes from Brock because it's so out of character when he does that, that when he does it, it means more. So it's almost as if, Brock now like has that respect for Cody. And I feel it just pushes Cody's character, even higher than what it already is.
I hated it. I'll tell you why I hated it. The storyline didn't make sense in the first place. So now at the end, he's just like, he won. I'm like, okay, we don't even know why you were fighting in the first place, man. Imagine you and me, like, we're acquaintances. We weren't like the friends that we are now. We just kind of knew each other, like, in passing. And one day I just punched you in the face and started fighting you. And then you kicked my ass like a month later, and I just picked up your arm, like, yeah. What the fuck was that about?
It was cool in the moment. It was cool.
It didn't make any sense.
It was cool in the moment.
I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening. I feel like fucking Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, what the hell is going on?
Well, someone who didn't know what to do with his hands.
Brock didn't even come out and say, like, the day he's turned on Cody, because I don't know if they were together to be turned on in the first place, but the day that happened, he didn't even sit there and be like, I don't respect you, and you're taking shots that I deserve. He didn't even say that. Like, if he would have said that the first time he put the paws on him, then it'd be like, oh, that's why Brock beat up Cody is because Brock feels like he deserves the universal shot, and Cody's taken away his opportunities. He doesn't respect Cody. So at the end of the 3 matches, for him to raise his arm, be like, you know what? I take it back. You did deserve that title shot. You do deserve that title shot that I didn't get at the time. Then that makes sense, but that never happened. So it was just like Brock beat up Cody twice for no reason other than just to say he could. I guess that's cute. And then Cody finally won, and it was like at least give me some backstory. Like Brock's dad used to beat him up as a child, and he looked like Cody or something. Give me a reason. Give me a reason. Why were they fighting? I don't know.
That's funny. Uh,
Childhood
now
trauma
on-
is good.
Now on to the match of the night. Drew McIntyre versus Gunther.
Definitely not the match of
Intercontinental
the night.
Championship.
Definitely not the match of the night. But all right.
It was hard hitting. I honestly, even with Gunther's record, part of me had a feeling that Drew might take it. It wasn't like a big thing, but if it happened, I wouldn't have been surprised. They keep on mentioning honky tonk. They keep on talking
every single day. They talk about how this guy's reigning champ for 8 years. They wouldn't have brought it up. They would not have brought it up. Why bring it up to not have the script go that long? And everybody, listen, it's an amazing feat. It's not an amazing feat. Listen, it's gotten to the point where everybody's so deep in the trenches on what they watch. If you watch wrestling, right, you're only watching WWE if you're a WWE fan. Anybody that was going to jump ship to go to AEW already did it. So now each company is only going to get new viewers, people that never watched before. So to sit there and say like, oh, he couldn't carry the belt that long, the fans would turn. The fans are turned. All the fans are tired of watching these guys carry belts for 6 years. It made sense 40 years ago when I didn't get to see you defend a title and there was no TV. That made sense. Like, I didn't get to see freaking these guys carry the belt for as long as they did because they weren't on TV every week for 5 hours on one show. And they weren't in my town every week. So, like, if I was going to go watch somebody like Hogan carry the belt pre-Raw, because bear in mind that pre-Raw, there really wasn't regularly scheduled wrestling. It was very intermittent. Right. Then he had to carry the belt for 2 years. Had to. At least kayfabe, he had to. I'm sure he lost somewhere along the line that wasn't part of the, what do they call it? Non-canon, it wasn't part of TV and therefore doesn't count.
Yeah.
I'm sure that happened somewhere along the way. We've seen that happen. But like, I knew Gunther was going to win. And they're two of them, their movesets together aren't that impressive. There's nothing special about it. And by the way, Gunther has the worst finisher in the history of it. It's like the most boring powerbomb I've ever seen. Watching Gunther wrestle is like watching Bret Hart version 2, except now he's a Nazi.
Oh, man.
He even stands.
It was such a physical match.
At Parade Rest, like he's a Nazi waiting to Heil Hitler as I could see him ready to clap his heels together and Zeke Heil.
He's the ring general. Ring general.
Yeah. Rommel. I know. I don't know
like Gunther.
Sit there with your wife who's Jewish and watch this, and she just sits there and she's okay with it. The man's wearing a Nazi jacket as he comes to the ring.
Oh man, it was a great match.
If you ever
gave it an A-.
Listen, I know you run into some of these wrestlers sometimes at events. If you ever run into Gunther, ask him what took place in Germany between 41 and 45. I bet you $5 he says everyone was on vacation. I guarantee you.
Oh my god. And we lost Nick. So I'm gonna run through it real quick. And he's back. Gunther hit him with that chop, and he was
that's my mic drop.
Oh man. I thought I enjoyed the match. I thought it was a good match. I like Gunther only because of how physically dominating he is. You know, and what makes this match so good for me is that these guys are like really beating the shit out of each other. You know, they're popping blood vessels. They're all purple on the chest. And what to me made this the match of the night is that it's getting these long reigns, more so Gunther's long reign, because he's there every week and he defends the title every month. It's making the IC title mean more. I think that title is, I know Seth's world title is brand new still, but I think that that Intercontinental title is back to how it was in the 80s, in the 90s, to where you had workhorses hold up belts and eventually they will be a future world champion. Gunther has the looks for a world champion. It's only a matter of time.
I can't see a Nazi carrying the heavyweight championship belt. I mean, they let a terrorist do it, but I can't see a Nazi doing it. But I just the physical belt itself is unimpressive to me.
It's ugly.
It's ugly.
All of their belt designs are trash. I'm not a fan of any of them.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s and 90s,
one I think is okay.
Which one?
I think the US one is okay.
I liked the one that they re-debuted in like 03 and 04.
Though I may be confusing what it looks like now. I got to be honest. I can't remember what it looks like off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think too that this is going to lead to a Drew McIntyre heel turn, which is what's desperately needed on Raw, because I feel like the only heels right now are Judgment Day and Imperium. And speaking of Judgment Day, great segue. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Did you have any other thoughts that you wanted to share on the IC title and the Nazi Gunther?
Yeah, no, not really. It was well wrestled. There was just nothing about it that really I was like, wow. And then on top of not having any wow factor whatsoever, I knew what the outcome was going to be. So it was like, why do I even need to watch? I know what's going to happen.
What we weren't sure what would happen, and I think this is the only match of the night. Well, maybe the women's too, but literally anyone between Seth and Finn could have taken this down.
I think that to me, that was the match of the night because I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought maybe Seth would lose because there are so many people that just don't like Seth for whatever reason, like he ended Sting's career. Even Sting said that Seth didn't end his career. It's just a freak accident. Shit happens. What are you going to do? Listen, you wrestle, dangerous shit happens all the time. So like, I don't know what to tell you. You're like, but you got to be safe when you do it. I don't think he does anything that's crazy unsafe. It's just accidents. Accidents happen. Like,
yeah, these accidents happen, and these neckbeards that keep saying that shit about Rollins ending Sting's career, they're all watching Sting right now in AEW, being 65 years old, jumping off a ladder through a table that he should not be doing. Yeah. So now when that happens, are they saying to Tony Khan, you're going to end Sting's career? No, you know what they're saying? Go, Sting, go, Stinger. It's so contradictory. But I don't want to get off on a tangent.
No.
This was a great match.
I thought it was a very good match. Very good. And it set up storylines. You look for that, right? Storylines have to be set up moving forward. Like, I don't know what happens to McIntyre or, I don't know, Adolf Gunther after Saturday night. I have no idea what happens with either one of them. It's just like, I can't see Gunther as somebody who grabs a microphone and gives me a good promo, and somebody like even as a heel, he's just a heel because he looks like a douche, not necessarily because he's going to sit there and do heel type things. And like, I mean, I think the Nazi angle.
That's one of the most important things, though. The look is the most important thing. Like, you got to have the look. Like,
you do have to have, but he does it to me as a generic look. The look on his face makes him look like a douche. That's about it. If he smiled more, he wouldn't look like that. But the Nazi angle is great. That makes him a total heel.
Yeah.
I just think it's a weird angle to go with in 2023. But no, this was the match for me.
Seth and Finn Balor.
So I thought it was a great match. They're both outstanding wrestlers. Just don't like Finn Balor's finisher. The coup de grace is a stupid fucking finisher. You can't jump on somebody's sternum and be 120 pounds, and the guy that you're wrestling that day is 250 pounds and think that you hurt him. That would be like Sienna jumping on a Rook and fucking injuring him.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, but like you were saying earlier, that's a finisher he could do on anybody.
It is, but don't fucking flip in there. Because what's the difference between him doing that or doing a fucking splash? Like,
well, he sets you up because he kicks you in the chest into the turnbuckle. So your chest is already like, if you remember playing the video games, it's like a yellow. It's like a yellow-orange. And then once he hits the coup de grace,
now when you weigh 145 pounds, man.
Bro, listen, anyone ever jump on your chest from the top turnbuckle?
The other thing that bothers me,
regardless.
The other thing that bothers me is when you roll out of the way, He's like, oh, I hurt my leg. Really? Because you just landed on your feet, dude.
His knee buckled. It's the plywood underneath the ring. It's the
Yeah. It's just a lame finisher. It's like Hogan's leg drop. Like, it's just lame.
I know. And then the Big Show does a leg drop, and the guy kicks out. It's like, what powers does Hogan have that the Big Show doesn't?
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
He has the power of a Hulkamania, dude.
Yeah. But no, it was a good match. I was sitting there going, who's going to win the whole way through? I didn't think Judgment Day was going to get involved. They kind of did. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, it's fucking Wednesday. What are you doing with your life?
Yeah, right.
Damian Priest, what's going on there? It continues the story. What's going on there?
I think right now, the Judgment Day as a group and their story are eclipsing the Bloodline on SmackDown.
Absolutely. Far more intriguing of a storyline.
Especially now, like the current Bloodline story right now.
Just because Rhea's there.
Oh, I love Rhea.
Rhea is the China of the group. Like, you got to have some sex appeal in your group for it to be meaningful.
Yeah. And she's dominant too.
Hands down, she's probably the sexiest woman in WWE right now.
Oh, I mean,
I'm not talking about looks. I'm talking about attitude. The things that she says on camera. The fact that she has Dominic calling her mommy. There's 1,000 guys in the world that are like, yeah, I'd like to do that. Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second.
And I love Dominic Mysterio. Dirty Dom, ex-con Dom.
Everybody in that group is the leader except for Dom.
That's so
According to Triple H. According to Triple H, depending on what day of the week it is, everybody in that group is the leader except for Dom.
I like that. That's actually really funny.
But the match was great. Outstanding match. Most importantly, nobody got hurt, but they had a lot of spots. They had a lot of spots that were a little bit risque, so to speak.
And the finish was good too because it wasn't clean. It was distracted. And it was a curb stomp on the briefcase. And that's where you got to take it. And that's what I'm talking about. When you have a finisher, when you like RKO is great because you can RKO out of nowhere. RKO out of nowhere. The Sweet Chin music was great because it popped out of nowhere. The stunner popped out of nowhere. A spear could pop out of nowhere. Those moves are awesome. Even Taker with the tombstone. On occasion, somebody'd run at him and he just flipped him over. Bop. Yeah. Done. Great moves. That curb stomp, the little innovative bop into the briefcase. Wow. Yeah. That's not something I would have called prior to. Coup de grace, you literally have to lay there with the briefcase on your chest for that to work. And at that point, you're a moron. And at that point, I'm pretty sure Finn's going to hurt himself. So nothing's happening with that. He's slipping on the briefcase. Yes, 100% breaks his ankle. I thought the finish was great. I'm intrigued to find out what happens with Priest and Balor. I mean, even Seth played it off at the end, like, what the fuck just happened? And that was great. He's like, whoa, I got lucky. And that's the best thing because it probably deters, Seth and Finn. Yep. That gets put on pause. It creates a distraction beyond that. Now it's going to be Priest and Balor. And how does this affect the Judgment Day? How does this affect Rhea? I don't really care what happens with Dom. Hey, he is the heart and soul of the Judgment Day. Yeah, he's not. That reaction, that's not an X-Pac heat. That's a legit. But I don't really dislike Dom. The only thing I'm just saying is that he's been wrestling for like 4 or 5 years and still has no muscle definition at all. It's really quite impressive. He doesn't need it because he's got mommy. Whatever Mustafa Ali's been doing, ex-con Dom needs to get on that level. How do you go to jail and you don't get any muscle mass whatsoever in jail? Right. What was he doing? Good match. We were saying, I'm interested to see who the next challenger is for the world title. Interested to see what happens with Priest. And I like it because they're not rushing the cash in. With the guys, you could milk it. With the guys walking around with the briefcase, it works. With them trying to cash in on either Roman or Rollins, it works. The long game works with the men's briefcase. But for the women,
for a split second, I was kind of sitting there going, is Damian going to cash in right now? And is this going to be a triple threat match?
2 weeks ago on Raw, they laid out Seth Rollins, all 4 of them. Literally, he wasn't moving. And then Dominic had his title, Rhea had her title, and then Priest is holding up the briefcase. Balor's like this with his 45-pack, and like Rollins isn't moving. I'm like, cash the fucking briefcase in. Cash it in. What are you doing? Like, you talk about make it make sense. They're like, yeah, we just laid out Seth Rollins. Then it's like, bro, cash your contract in. Well, someone who did cash in the contract, Io Sky. But before we jump into her cashing in, bruh, come on.
I got to be honest with you. I watched that match. I didn't go up and get popcorn like I normally would. It was very sloppy. Watch it over again. It was sloppy.
The finish was the best.
The finish was good.
One Charlotte, and I said this too to
honestly,
that
was a great feat by Charlotte and Bianca to not get hurt in that position. And I thought that was very impressive. But up to that point, there was a lot of stuff, a lot of simple, rudimentary moves that I've seen them complete before that just looked very untidy. They just looked a little sloppy. Nothing that they really like, not a you fucked up type moment, but just a moment where you were just like, that wasn't clean. Like, you could have done a little bit better on that one. Like, Perry Saturn would have thrown you out of the ring for that one.
That's funny. But you know what? It was like a basketball game. You don't have to watch the beginning. The last 5 minutes is where it really picked up. Once Charlotte had Bianca in the figure 8 and she arched back, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, Asuka's gonna miss her right in the face. I'm like, it's a perfect setup. And then Charlotte was like this with her hair. Let me get my hair out of my face while I'm applying the submission.
She closes her eyes right before she does it too.
Yes, she did. I was like, come on, bitch. I'm like, what are you doing? But it was a good finish. I liked it. I agree.
I like Asuka.
I legit thought at first, I thought Bianca got hurt, like for real. Because it looked like she missed the stairs. Like it looked like she was supposed to land on the stairs and then Charlotte was going to hit her. But once she fell, I was like, oh, fuck. But then, once the camera guy was like this in her face with the camera, I'm like, oh, this bitch ain't hurt. I'm like, she's going to get up. And they tried to pan away so you couldn't see her by the ramp.
Right.
But I like that Bianca won. And then I like that Io cashed in. Because Bianca is a gangster when she's a heel. She was a heel in NXT. And she was like, don't fuck with me. I am the baddest EST. And I will kick your ass. And that's the type of Bianca that I want to see.
I felt the EST has been like the Hugs. She's the new Hugs.
She's like John Cena. All the little girls love her. She completes all these fucking wishes. Well, you know what? You want to know what my wish is that separated. You separated on social media to where Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns are beating the shit at each other. And then they're fishing together on an overseas tour. And it's on social media.
I miss kayfabe.
You could do that, but you can't turn Bianca heel. This way, you think it's going to stop the wishes? It's going to stop the endorsements? And that's another thing I don't like. Speaking of that match, she comes out, doing her thing, and then she's drinking a can of C4. Perfectly labeled, perfectly on the camera. And then the whole match was like some WCW 2000 shit where all around the barricade was a C4 logo.
I'll tell you right now.
$1 billion company. What are you doing? It's like the Yankees with logos on their fucking jerseys.
I was just thinking the same thing.
It makes no sense.
Have you ever drank C4?
No.
C4 will give you a friggin'. I would never, before going to go do a cardiovascular event, I would never drink C4. Your heart rate will hit like 190 beats per minute. Drinking C4 right before a cardiovascular. I'll do it to lift. If I'm lifting, yeah. get your veins opened up a little bit, get some more water going through, a little niacin, get that little burn going. But if I'm going to go run, and wrestling by far is a cardiovascular event,
Yeah.
I am not drinking C4. You'll die. But I digress. Io Sky Cat, I honestly, I hate the whole Money in the Bank concept just because it's like the cheapest way to win.
That's what I was getting at. Not that's the cheapest way to win, but I'm hoping that this loss and the way Bianca lost it after, Charlotte skipped the line, after she had to get this triple threat match, and then she won the triple threat, and then for Io to cash in when they've been having beef with Bianca for a year now. I want to see a more edgier Bianca. I'm tired of this happy-go-lucky, skipping, throwing my hair bullshit. Be gangsta, be the baddest like you say that you are, and make something interesting happen. Her husband's a heel now, Montez. Him and the Street Profits are with Bobby Lashley. It's like they're bringing back the Hurt Business again. So I want to see new things. It's the summer, pick things up, finish the year strong. And you have so many opportunities to do that with how, while it wasn't my favorite SummerSlam, with how this SummerSlam went, you could coast right into the end of the year if you do things the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't got anything extra to add about that match. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of women wrestling. Just not something that interests me.
Yeah, unless we're seeing some TNA, and I don't mean Test and Albert, and I don't mean total nonstop action.
I like wrestling when I like the nostalgia of when I was a kid, where it's like I might see something I shouldn't be seeing right now.
Yeah. Yep.
I want to watch women fight. I don't want to watch beautiful women fight each other. That's crazy.
Right? Love each other. Go hug each
That's
other.
it. Spread love. It's the Brooklyn way.
Yeah. But this love was not spread, and this was the WWE Undisputed Championship, Universal Championship match. I want to say, hold on one second. It wasn't. So since 2021, was it 2021? I'm trying to think when that Survivor Series was in the Barclays Center. Since about 2021, I have been like living this fantasy dream. Yeah, 2021. I've been since living this fantasy dream that The Rock still gives a shit about wrestling fans and that he was going to come back. Because there have been so many situations, so many perfect scenarios to where he could come back, he can confront Roman, and we just get the match that we've been wanting. And part of me, I was sitting thinking, and I tweeted this out. I'm like, what if three things are going to happen in this main event? The true main event. I'm like, either Randy Orton's going to come back and he's all healed up and he's going to confront Roman. I'm like, because of the writer's strike in Hollywood, The Rock is going to come back because what the fuck's he filming? That's probably why he donated all that money to SAG, because he doesn't want to fucking come back. Or the third thing, because this is the only way it would make sense for Roman to win, would be Jimmy turning on Jay. And that's exactly what they did. For me, this match was eh. I may have to go back and watch it because I was like exhausted at the time. CBS rated this match, not that it really means anything, a B+. It's no Dave Meltzer 5 stars, but
listen, that match was a Samoan Pokemon match. They only know 4 moves between the two of them. Right? You're going to get a spear, you're going to get a super kick, you're going to get a Samoan drop, and then a Superman punch or whatever Jay's splashes. And all it is a splash. If we're being honest. Oh, he throws his arms behind his back. I don't really give a shit. It's a splash. Like arms in the air, arms over here, arms over there. It's a splash. It's nothing impressive. And we saw 8,000 between the 4 people involved in that match, or 5 people. There's only about 5 different move sets. And when I say 5 different movesets, I mean they all do the Samoan drop. Apparently, they all do spears now. You got the little brother does the friggin' the spike from Umaga. Jimmy and Jay super kick or mid kick everybody. They're not super kicks. Super kicks put people down, folks. These dudes have never put down anybody with that kick. Like, I was wondering what Booker was talking about when he was like, everybody should get fired the minute they slap their leg. I was like, what's Booker talking about? And then I watched Jimmy and Jay Uso wrestle, and I was like, oh, these two motherfuckers need to be fired.
It's all.
The whole match is just them doing mid kicks and everybody getting up. Like, it's just so boringly bland. Everybody knew that Roman was not going to win that match. And what was even worse was they cover up Jimmy's face like he's some mystery guy. And everybody was like, clearly that's Jimmy.
And that's what I don't like either.
There was nobody that sat there like, who just did that?
He came out looking like he was in fucking San Andreas. And like, I didn't like how they did it at all. It would have made more sense if he came out with him and then he turned on them. You know,
Yep.
It was like Solo's there, but the whole thing, it could have been executed better. Like, brothers don't fight, pal. Like, that's what Vince would say. But it just doesn't. Everything leading up, it just didn't make sense. It should have happened in a way where it was like an accident. Kind of like how you were saying, like with Ricochet, how that match should have ended. It should have been like an accident where Jimmy was on the apron and he gets pushed. Jay gets pushed into him. Spear, spike to Jimmy, and then 1, 2, 3. But
Right.
the moment that they announced that the next pay-per-view is Payback, that's when I'm like, Jimmy's costing Jay the belt, 100%. Because then they're going to build that whole thing around Payback. Because now you're falling into the thing to where Roman's going to probably take some time off. Which would have been okay if Gunther was still on SmackDown.
It was never going to be okay. It was never going to be okay. The man's defended his belt one time since WrestleMania. He's going to take some time off. So what is he going to defend the belt twice this year? Seriously? What is this?
I agree with you. I agree with you, which is why it's such a hard situation to be in now, because now you're saying Austin Theory's the guy on SmackDown with the U.S. title. But Austin Theory's defending the U.S. title against who? Escobar from the LWO? He can't be the guy without Roman there. At least Gunther, he had like the stature, he had the long title reign, and he just looks dominant. And I'm an Austin Theory guy, but the way they're booking him, to me, doesn't leave the window open to be successful. That's why it's like, all right, who's going to challenge Roman?
Where he lost?
What was that?
Wasn't Austin Theory just in that battle royal where he was a loser?
Yeah. Why is the U.S. champ not on the fucking card, but he's in a battle? It's better if he's not on at all.
Absolutely, 100%. So much better if he. Why would you put a champion in a match with a bunch of everybody else and have him lose?
And that's what you have him say to not be in the match. Easy. He's like, I'm Austin Theory, the U.S. champion, the United States champion, and I'm in a Slim Jim battle royal. And then you look at his physique and he goes, does it look like I eat Slim Jims? I'm not in this match. And then, boom, you're safe. He doesn't get a SummerSlam payday, but also he doesn't look like a clown who lost a battle royal as the United States fucking champion.
But this last match, great finish, by the way. But this last match, the first 10 minutes of it was them staring at each other. Yeah. And Jay doing this, looking at Roman and going,
it's like, Oos, I love you, Oos. Your family, Oos. We all the ones.
And it's like, I just sat there and I was like, this is, and then spear, mid kick, spear, mid kick, Superman punch, splash, Samoan drop, spear, mid kick, interference, spike, spike, spear, mid kick, spike, and interference, and Roman wins again. And it's like, awesome. That was nobody.
Hold on. Say all that again. What was that? Left, right, up, down.
It's just 8,000 spears and mid kicks with some Samoan spikes in there, with Samoan drops, and then like a Superman punch and a splash, alternatively, with a little interference sprinkled in. And you have the ups and downs of anybody named NOI or Fatu getting in the ring. It's just so boring. And why are they pushing this family so long? This is like watching NWO Legends or 2000, whatever they wanted to call it, when they went to black and silver, and you were just like, can we just let this shit go already? I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of it. It is no longer sweet. It is sad. Sad.
That's good.
That's what it was.
And so overall, to wrap things up, out of 5 stars, what would you give SummerSlam?
1.5. And that 1 star was, I take it back, 2 stars. Out of 5 stars, I give it 2 stars. One of those stars was going to be Seth versus Finn. Great. I thought that was overall great production. And the other, I'll give a half star to the ladies not injuring themselves in that last match. Another half star to Logan Paul and Ricochet. Nobody else really impressed me in anything that they did.
I'm around the same rating as you. I'm like a 2.5 out of 5. Only to me, it didn't feel like a SummerSlam. You could have named this pay-per-view Backlash.
I was thinking Backlash.
I'm actually up to Backlash 2000 right now on my marathon, but that's a different time. Well, what did you guys think of SummerSlam? What did you guys think of SummerSlam? Did you enjoy it? Are we out of our minds? What was your favorite match? Make sure that after you watch this, you've subscribed and you hit us up on Twitter and drop some comments. Do anything to let us know what you thought of SummerSlam. And hopefully, a lot of interesting things happen Monday night. And then when you watch this Wednesday, we'll see what happens Friday with the whole Bloodline saga, but pretty sure that's all the time we have for right now. Thanks for joining us, guys. We will be back maybe live next week. We don't know. It don't matter because you know what? There you go. Break it down. See you guys later. Thanks for joining. Peace.